Hey guys, I'm back. I'm making a new live post. Hopefully the audio in this one's going to be a lot better. I'm using a new mic, so if it thuds here, I'm sorry. But anyway, so I wanted to do something that might be a little unpopular to an extent. And I want to do it now because no one's talking about current mass shootings or anything like that. So I didn't want anyone to accuse anything in this video of being politically motivated or driven while people were mourning also at the same time, because this is going to talk about common sense gun control. So something that my fellow conservative brethren may find not popular, in my opinion, is I actually agree with common sense gun control. I think there's a lot of steps that we could take to have some common sense gun control. And everyone always clamors about passing new legislation or laws or anything like that. But part of the beauty of living in a free country is we don't have to wait for legislation. We can start taking actions now. So this is my attempt to implement a form of common sense gun control that I think is totally acceptable. So what we're going to cover in this video applies to any firearm. Doesn't matter if it's single shot, black powder, AR-15s, AK-47s, tiny little handguns. It's all common sense gun control that applies to absolutely every weapon. So let's go ahead and get started. So whether or not you're talking about a little 25 right here, and not all these weapons that you might see here belong to me necessarily. So first thing is you always want to check to see whether or not it's loaded and keep it in a safe distance. Or in a safe direction. So if you're uncomfortable at all with firearms, the best thing to do for you is to not touch it. Never, ever touch it. Don't ever. A gun can't go off by itself. All right. So if you're uncomfortable, find someone who is if you see something lying in a dangerous position. So this applies to whether or not you're talking about one of these, or you're talking about something a little bigger like this. Okay. Maybe even a little bigger, like this one, right? Okay. Or something like this, all right? You always want to keep it in a safe direction, okay? So I'm actually aiming it at no one in particular, completely out of window here. I can have clear line of sight, no one is there. So I'm never pointing a firearm at something that I know could be in the way. All right. So let's go to the 25, right? This is a semi-automatic straight blowback weapon here. The first thing that I do is I want to make sure I always treat the gun like it's loaded. So you can see it's always pointed in a safe direction. Right now it's up into the attic, and that would be safe for me with this. I pulled the magazine out. It's empty. You can see that is empty. Pull the slide back. That's empty. A lot of times you might see someone who does something like that. And that's just because there's an ejector on all these little semi-automatic handguns. You can see it a little better on this one, this little piece here. That's the ejector. So it's going to grab the a shell or a bullet if there's a whole bullet in there, okay, and it's going to pull it out. So that's what we do first. You want to check, make sure it is unloaded, okay? So we can confirm that it's unloaded. All right. This one, again, safe direction. Drop the mag. This one's not orange, but there's no bullets in the mag. Pull the slide back. If you feel comfortable doing that, making sure there's nothing in there, you can lock the slide back, okay? Nothing in any of these weapons, right? I'm not going to check the big one. Well, maybe I will. Here we go. So you got the big one. Here's your bolt carrier group there. You got a charging handle here, okay? You pull that back. There's no mag in the magazine well, okay? Empty, okay? So the next thing you want to do for gun control, common sense gun control, is always keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to fire. Right, so we know that these are empty. We've checked, okay, completely empty. Notice my finger placement. It's not on the trigger at all, okay? Common sense gun control, keep it off the trigger, okay? Never point the barrel of the gun at any, or never point the barrel of the gun at anything you are not willing to kill, okay? That's rule number 3. And I want to be very poignant on that word kill because, yes, that's what a gun is designed to do. It is designed to not maim, not hurt, not wound. It's designed to kill. Okay, so anything that you're not willing to kill, don't point the barrel of the gun at it. Okay? Please share this with people you know, just because this is education here. I feel like it's a huge part of what we are seeming to lack here now. So don't point it at anything you're not willing to kill, whether it's hunting or it's defense. Some people teach the laser beam of death, right? So whether or not your finger's on the trigger, if the barrel of the gun passes in front of you, you're dead, right? This is dead. Okay, so just know that that's a thing. Don't point at anything, okay? Beyond, this is rule number 4, beyond just not pointing the barrel of the gun at anything you're not willing to kill, always keep the gun pointed in a safe direction. So, I'm not pointing it at me. I'm not pointing it at a cat that might be around here. So I'm not pointing it at the floor. I've got the door closed so the cats can't get in here. I'm not even really, I'm not pointing it at neighbors. I can see, again, clear line of sight. I know no one is there. You can point it up. Okay, no one's up there. I prefer to point the guns straight down like this, as long as it's not pointing at any part of your body. And the reason is if you hold your guns up like this, and I know a lot of people will hold a rifle, and they'll hold them up like this, right? You try to hold it pointing up. Well, if it does go off, like let's say you drop this and some freak accident happens and it discharges a bullet. Well, what goes up comes back down, right? And we've seen this before. It's why on the 4th of July, everyone has to, for some reason, tell everyone not to point the no shooting into the air. Makes no sense to me. So I like to point straight down, and the reason is if it does discharge or I accidentally squeeze the trigger, if I'm not following rule number 2, okay, it goes into the dirt. No chance of anyone getting hurt, right? So always keep the barrel of the gun pointed in a safe direction. If you're at a gun range, always keep it pointed down range, things like that, okay? All right, rule number 5. And now here's where we get into kind of some more important things that people might not think about as far as common sense gun control, but always keep your firearm clean. First of all, if you want to shoot a lot, you want to practice with your firearm, you want to get comfortable with your firearm, you don't want to, get latent, or if you are in a situation where you have to draw a firearm, you don't want to be fumbling and remembering what to do. So always be really comfortable with your firearm. So after that, after shooting, you need to clean it. Different guns have different maintenance cycles. I like to clean my guns every time I shoot. Doesn't matter how many shots I take, I will clean my guns afterwards, and that's because if there's ever a situation where I have to draw, I want to make sure the gun's going to operate, appropriately. So that's rule number 5. Rule number 6, and this is a big one, and a friend of mine actually called me out on this one recently, and I had to take action to amend it, and it's safe firearm storage. Now, I know a lot of states have safe storage laws, so you have to have a safe or some sort of a lockbox where you keep your weapons in, but not a lot of states do. Most states probably don't. So I live in Georgia. I don't have any specific law that tells me how I need to store my weapons, but a friend of mine, really told me. I had my AR in a, just a case with a padlock on it, and so my kids couldn't get to it. But anyway, so I went and bought a safe because he told me, if someone were to break into your house and you're not home, they're going to grab that case and they're going to walk right off with it, right? So I bought a little safe. It was $400, so it's not a cheap investment, but it's really important that people know this about safe gun storage. And because a lot of times people who shouldn't buy guns can find guns in friends or family houses and stuff like that, and then they take them. So there's a wide variety of things that you can use to store. Another thing is you can get concealment furniture, believe it or not. So try not to. I know tacticalwalls.com. They don't sponsor me, but if they'd like to, that would be awesome. Tacticalwalls.com. They have 2 little magnetic locks. You have a little key, and your firearms can sit safely locked up in a tactical wall. And that way, if somebody broke into your house, you can easily have access to them, and they're also concealed. So another thing is you could just hide them. This is obviously not preferred, but try not to hide them in a place that is obvious, like your closet. I know of people who have a little panel, either in a cabinet or something where it's completely concealed. You don't know what you're looking for, but you have a firearm hidden back, secured to the couch, stuff like this. Places where people aren't going to be looking for your weapons if they were to break into your house. And that's really all they're good for if you're going to hide. So do not rely on it. I really recommend a safe just because it is the best thing. And if you buy a safe, make sure you bolt it to the floor, preferably a concrete floor. It's like you can put it in the garage. Or if you don't, a lot of times you can bolt them into the support studs for your floor. And that helps a little bit. So, if you don't have the money to spend on a gun safe or any concealment furniture, please try to make sure you put your weapon in a place that someone who does break into your home or apartment is not going to look for it. All right. Rule number 7, and this is a big, long one, is gun education. So why am I making this video and I'm calling it Common Sense Gun Control? Obviously, kind of as a parody. I don't support specific legislations to restrict firearms because I know they don't work. That's the problem. Criminals will just break the law. That's the problem. You're only restricting it from people who obey the law. Okay, so gun education. I strongly support the Second Amendment to the fullest capacity, and that means high-capacity magazines, AR-15s, AK-47s, all that good stuff, any semi-auto. I would even support full auto capability because I know the likelihood of a law-abiding citizen of committing a crime with anything doesn't really matter. It's so low. It's very, very, very low. All right. So, but one thing that I have noticed, and this is me personally, is just a steep lack of basic common sense knowledge. Rules 1, 2, 3, right? The beauty is if you follow any of those rules, keep the barrel pointed in a safe direction, keep your finger off the trigger, always handle it like it's loaded. If you follow any one of those rules, you're not going to hurt anybody, right? The best thing, obviously, practice all 3 of them. Always do all 3 of them. But let's say you have the barrel pointed in a safe direction and you actually accidentally put your finger on the trigger and you squeeze off a round. Well, it's in a safe direction, no one was hurt. Let's say you accidentally point your gun at a friend of yours, but your finger's off the trigger. Well, no one's going to get hurt. See, that's the thing, is you have to follow all 3, though, to make sure you're safe. But that's why there's more than one rule, right? If you always treat a weapon like it's loaded, point in a safe direction, all that good stuff, you're not going to hurt anybody accidentally. Okay, but the knowledge of this is just lost, right? It used to be people who really were required to have gun knowledge, basic gun knowledge for survival and that kind of thing. So you had to go out and hunt and get your own food, stuff like that. It's not really the case anymore, so a lot of common sense gun rules are lost. People don't learn them anymore. They're not taught in schools, obviously. I think they should be. I think that's the big thing. I think there should be a program that's K through 12 that's taught by either ex-police officer, ex-military, NRA instructor, preferably maybe multiple, and it needs to be every grade level, K through 5, maybe just as simple as, hey, look, this is a firearm. This is what different firearms look like. If you see this, go get an adult. Do not touch it. Don't pick it up. Don't engage with it, right? If you see a friend playing with it, go get an adult. Always go get an adult for K through 5. Do not attempt to take it from somebody. Do not touch it, okay, without an adult present, right? It's just, that needs to be taught in our schools. 6 through 8, maybe, so we're talking now middle school. This is a firearm. This is basic firearm safety. Don't touch it without an adult present. Always point in a safe direction, the stuff we just covered right now, right? Nothing graphic, nothing violent, nothing like that. And then maybe 9 through 12, we start talking about this is a firearm. We're going to cover the basic gun safety rules again. We're going to cover the difference between semi-auto, full auto, single shot, double action. You're going to learn the different material about this in school. And then maybe even go out and go shooting in the later grades. 11 or 12, maybe a field trip or something like that. You go out to a range and you can see what firearms are capable of doing. I think that is so key that when you see what a firearm is capable of doing, you have so much more respect for it. If you go shooting, you have so much more respect for it. And that's part of the issue. We don't respect these things anymore. There was a guy a few years ago. I was with a friend. He was buying his handgun. And there was a guy who walked in, told me, and he asked us because he saw we were buying one. And he saw I was carrying, because I open carry a lot. He asked us what cleaning kit we should buy. And he had a Glock, which is a really, really good gun. I don't have anything personally against Glock. I prefer manual safeties. So you can see that here. That is safe. That's unsafe, so that's fire. I prefer this, and a lot of Glock, well, I don't know of any Glocks that have it, okay? I prefer safeties, manual safeties, okay? But he went out and he went shooting, and he said he put maybe 500 to 1,000 rounds through his Glock, and he's never cleaned it before in his life. And if you know, that's one of my rules. You got to clean your guns. You got to make sure they're safe, because powder will build up and it can blow up in your hands. It's really dangerous, or they jam, or different things happen. So anyway, we helped him pick out a kit, and we told him how to tear down his gun. We told him how to clean it, and a lot of gun ranges will do this. But that man really bothered me, because his neighbor had his door kicked in. He went out and bought a gun, and he didn't learn about it. He didn't learn the need to clean his guns. He didn't learn how to clean his guns. He didn't know how to tear down a Glock, which is very, very simple. I don't have a Glock, but it's the same kind of tear down as this. And so you make sure it's unloaded. It has to be unloaded. You discharge the trigger, okay? Okay, it's disengaged. You pull the slide back a little bit, and there's 2 little tabs here on either side. One's there, and one is here. Okay, you pull both those down at the same time, and you just push forward. Okay, and then from there you've got, the hand hold piece. Really, I should have pulled the magazine out, but it doesn't really matter too much. And you can clean in there where they load the bullets in. You pull the recoil spring out. You pull out the barrel, and you just clean these pieces. You clean the barrel out. You clean the slide off. Some people will blow off the spring or stuff like that. And it's just very critical to learn how to properly maintain your firearms. And you put it back together simply by realigning the slide. I'll show you again, because I kind of... Okay. There's little metal tabs there, and it hooks into the back of the slide there. You see those little grooves. Okay. And you just pull the slide all the way on, and now you're good, right? So if you have a Glock and you didn't know how to clean it, or you have other similar guns with these 2 tabs there, like this is a Taurus PT740. It's a slim, so it's a very compact handheld gun. Now you know how to clean your gun. But people like that bother me, because they went out and they did something they didn't learn about their firearm. It just... Anyway. And one thing I just wanted to cover really quickly is, a little bit about my AR here. A lot of people don't know this. AR-15, the AR doesn't stand for assault rifle. Okay. it stands for Armalite rifle. Armalite was the first company to produce a civilian-style AR-15 rifle. So it's based off of the M4 platform, which is a very different military weapon. You know, a lot of them, they have full auto capability or 3-shot burst capability, depending on your model. This is not an M4. Okay, this is an AR-15, an Armalite rifle, model 15. It's not an assault weapon. But one thing I wanted to cover on that too is I hear a lot of arguments, both for and against AR-15. And one argument that a lot of pro Second Amendment people use that kind of drives me a little bit crazy is, and I don't have the rounds with me here, I left them out, is that it's a glorified varmint round, right? It's basically a 22. Well, it's not true. All right. A 22 round is maybe this long, right? And yes, the diameter of the projectile is accurate. It is basically the same as a 22. But when you look at the ballistic coefficient, you have mass times velocity, and an AR round is about that long, right? So you've got a lot more gunpowder behind an AR-15 round. Either it's 223 or if it's 5.56, a lot more velocity leaving the barrel. The twist rates are typically more on a, which helps you with velocity, stuff like that, on a lot of ARs. It's not true, okay? It's not a glorified varmint round, but it's also, a lot of people tell me on the left that it's the most deadly rifle ever made. That is completely false. The AR-15, the 223 round, was designed to actually wound, because in military and combat, if you kill a target, okay, well, you took one person out. If you wound the target, someone has to go out and get that guy and bring him back. You took out 2 people. So it's actually designed on purpose to not be the most lethal round ever. Anything, 30-06, 30 caliber or bigger, those are far more deadly, far more devastating rounds. Most handgun rounds have more oomph behind them than a 223. So just, a little bit of both sides there. All right. But anyway, here's the thing is, even if we start educating people in the United States, we have 393 million guns, right? Even if in the public school system we have to start educating, it's still predominantly the parents' responsibility to do this, to do the education. So you need to be responsible for your own kids and for yourself. You need to be responsible for yourself. And here's a point for anyone who has parents, or anyone who's parents who has kids. You need to be the one to expose your kids to firearms, because there will be a time and there will be a day in which they are exposed to firearms. And when that happens, you need to be in control of that situation if you're a parent. Whether you like guns or you don't like guns, it doesn't matter. Your kids will have an experience with a firearm. You need to be in control of what they experience, okay? The very first time, whether you're pro or anti-gun, okay? And you need to make sure you're doing it safely. So there's a lot of gun ranges around. I highly recommend, if you've never fired a gun or you never purchased a gun or anything like that, I highly recommend that you find someone who's a friend who you trust to teach you gun safety. You either watch this video and you follow my basic rules for common sense gun control, or you do something to educate yourself further. Just please educate yourself if you're going to go out and go shooting. And I highly, highly, highly recommend, whether you're pro gun or anti-gun, you go and shoot a gun at least once, because you will learn a great deal of respect, which is really needed. So I know this is kind of a little bit of a longer video, but hopefully the sound quality came in good. I will be watching it again. Hopefully people will share it and make this common. If you make this blow up on the internet, woo, that would be awesome. I appreciate it. But really, really, really get this out there, because I think there's just a lot of lack of education on common sense gun control and common sense firearm handling and safe firearm handling. So, again, barrel in the safe direction, finger off the trigger, always treat it like it's loaded, safe storage, get a safe. Even if it's a little safe and you only buy a handgun, little biometric safes, they're not expensive. Okay, anything bigger that's going to hold a rifle, that's going to be a lot more expensive. But just a little fireproof safe, it's a good thing to have anyway, especially if it's a fireproof safe, because if something were to happen to your house, you can put important documents and stuff in there. So please, please, please store your firearms safely. If you're not doing it now, shame on you. Boo, whatever your name is. Anyway, thanks for watching. Subscribe, like my Facebook. Posting this one on YouTube under my new YouTube channel, the Conservative Pooper Scooper. So please, please, please subscribe, like, hit notifications on YouTube. And thank you for watching. I really appreciate it, you guys. Much love.